As a child, I never had Amiga. My first computer was Commodore 64, and then I went straight to PC. And not a very fast PCs was 286 with Hercules graphic card, so monochrome monitor. So when I saw my friends playing, I guess it was another word back then, and I compared this to my computer, you can clearly understand I wanted an Amiga. So, fast forward 25 years later, I got myself a Amiga 500. And not only Amiga 500, but also some additional goodies, such as an accelerator card. Some pronounce it Wicher, some say Wicher, because it's a Polish card, and Wicher is very strong wind. Actually, if you look on the forums, Polish Amiga forums, I guess Artur, the creator of this card, probably meant Wicher, not Wicher, but you can get away with calling it Wicher, it's fine too. So I got myself this card plus FN16, a Motorola 68K processor, and 8 megabytes of RAM, which will be seen as fast RAM. On top of that, as my SCSI hard drive, really a dream, I will use this compact flash card in a compact flash adapter. This should also give me just straight boot into the workbench. I got myself also a multi-ROM in order to be able to switch from Kickstart 1.3 to use with my Gotek, and 3.1 to use with WHD load. And another FN20 if the FN16 is going to be slower. I would like to overclock these CPUs, and I just wanted to have 2 of them. So I got myself also this mat because my keyboard is not working great, and having all this stuff, well, I started to disassemble my Amiga. Actually, I got this computer from a guy who never opened this, so it was purchased in 92. Still had paper stickers, so this guy never opened it. I bought this as a perfectly working computer. It turned out half of the keyboard is not working and had other issues. I can't blame the guy really. He only started a few games that he had on floppies, and that was the way how this guy used this computer, and I obviously wanted a little bit more from this computer. I connected an external Gotek, so it's basically a Gotek drive but in external floppy enclosure. Plus I installed a small modification to even CIA, so I could switch those signals in order to fool Amiga that this Gotek is internal floppy drive. So there are great videos, great tutorials how to do this mod. I guess all cave dwellers will know a great video about this, so I will link it down below. I won't be discussing this mod. I would like to show you how I installed Wicher or Wicher into this board, so you could get a nice picture how actually this process went. And it's a very smooth one, although as you can clearly see, I didn't have the proper tools for that. Guys, don't remove chips that way unless you know what you are doing, or at least don't try to do it fast. So I didn't bend the legs of the CPU, and it came out all okay, but it is nightmare. Better get the proper tools. I thought I had them, but yeah, actually when I started shooting this video, it turned out I can't find it, so I had to use the old screwdriver method, which, as you can see, worked perfectly fine, but yeah, it's not optimal. So first you need to remove this original 68K in order, because the Wicher goes directly to the socket. And then I spotted my first problem. It's not a big deal, but there are 2 capacitors that are kinda in a way. You need to bend them a little bit away, because as you can clearly see here, you won't be able to press this card all the way down. I have seen in the internet there are some risers, I guess you could call them that, that will basically relocate the Wicher a little bit higher, actually on top of the knees. So if you have some modification done to the chips there, probably you can buy for like €20 a card, just a PCB that will move this a little bit higher. At this moment I also wanted to install my multi-ROM, because this will be just underneath the Wicher card, so I had to remove that. If you will be doing this, please take a look how this chip is positioned, because there is a small offset by 1 pin, so it actually, the socket is a little bit bigger, so you should be aware not only about the orientation of the chip, you have to take a look at the notch, align the notch on the chip, but also it's offset. It's pretty great on marked on my board. I've got revision 8, which is basically a 500 but with 512K. So you install the Wicher as it is here. Of course, clearly you have to assemble this. You need to install first the CPU, then RAM, and then bend these capacitors, and it looks like installed. It looks like this, and you even got enough clearance to install the keyboard. Probably you won't be able to install shielding. But that's basically okay. I have seen the Wicher or the Wicher cards with a completely flat seam. Guess that were earlier revisions, but it's okay. You don't need to install the shielding, but you do need to install these 2 cables. One goes to the one leg of OCIA, and the second one I don't remember, but there are pretty good instructions how you can connect these signals. They are used just for boot from this compact flash, and here you can see actually my first boot. How this looked like. And yeah, at the first time I didn't know which position my switch was, which kickstart I have been using, so I had to switch this kickstart here, then reboot it again. And actually at this moment I have to tell you I was scared, really scared. So I've got this first error, and I was at this moment I was very happy, because I thought, well, I couldn't mess it up that bad, because I got the info about the error. But here it was where I start to get a little bit nervous. I had to wait and wait. This video is not slowed down, not speed up. It actually looks like this, the first boot. So basically you can see nothing. The CPU was, I guess, at 20 megahertz. So I started to take a look at the chips. Is there any heat? Is the machine doing anything? If it would take a little bit longer than this, I think I probably would reboot. Be aware that my compact flash was underneath the keyboard, and I couldn't see the indication of that the compact flash was working. But it all turned out okay, and of course the first thing I had to do was to take a look at this info, how fast my machine was. And it's not disappointing. I knew it that it was 25 megahertz, so not the fastest, but okay. Then I started to overclock this, of course. But I got crashes and 28, 33. I swapped this CPU. So with the FN16 I got crashes even at 25, when I started the game. Another word would crash on the first demo, then it crashed in sysinfo again and again. Actually, it's frozen at this moment. You can see it, but it froze. So I swapped this out for the second FN20. Overclocked this to 25. I've tried everything, 28, 33, 42. It was nightmare. I think I lost the chip lottery, I guess, so 25 was the only overclock stable for me. Probably it's not the heat, because the chip wasn't that hot. It could be down to a PSU, because I'm using standard power supply here. I don't know, I didn't have that much time. It's not that big of a deal for me, 25 is great. I had more serious issues. So basically, as you can see here, my Amiga had some issues, my keyboard was not working. So I started to work on this keyboard. I didn't have that much time, but I kinda wanted to be brave, and also on a Facebook Amiga group some guys helped me with some schematics and some other tutorials how to repair such a keyboard, so I thought, well, I'll give it a try. And I basically have found, I guess, at least 3 problems. So if you take a look at this mat, it's not looking all that bad. You can take a multimeter and check a few points, but it was kind of nightmare. I fixed one spot that was very obvious, and it was the ground. So I thought, well, maybe when I fix this, this should help me with most of the problems. And actually it didn't turn up that way. Also, the stuff that I have used to patch the bad traces needed like 3 hours to dry. So I thought, okay, that was one place. Well, then here is another, here probably another. You need to scrape the foil. That's just too much mess. I didn't want to do it, so I basically replaced the mat. So yeah, maybe next time, but I didn't want to dedicate that much time. It felt kinda bad only a few minutes, cause at this point I had a perfectly working keyboard. So if you will be wondering if those mats are worth anything that you can buy on eBay, yeah, they kinda work flawless. So I was pretty happy about that. So with a working keyboard I could go straight to install the Wicher software. There is a small application program that you have to install in order to control a few things. There are a few. This process is also shown on the screen. So there is a novice, intermediate, user, and expert. It's actually either ask you about are you sure or not, so you can choose an expert and just click it through, and then this will give you an access to the overclocking, and you can start from here. Now here is my small problem with this card. It comes only with a basic installation guide. It would be kinda nice if there was something about, you know, how to install the software. For me, being like first time Amiga user, it's like took me half an hour to figure this out, where this actually goes after installation, how you can undo the overclock. There are few jumpers that you can disable or enable on this card. So there is a turbo jumper, there is a 12-25 MHz jumper, but it's kind of not obvious whether this will undo the overclock or not. Actually, I took off the turbo jumper, and then also I switched from 25 to 12 when I had problems with my overclock being too high. And it still froze when I was trying to boot into this software to correct this overclock, so I kind of click it very fast through before this will freeze. It would be nice to have some kind of online documentation or documentation. There is a huge chance that I'm simply dumb and I couldn't find this. I didn't look that much for this because I was able to figure this out, so probably you could also contact producer of this card. He answers every email, he's very upfront, he discusses multiple things on the forums, so great support from this guy. I kinda wish that it came with little more instruction out of box or with a link to a longer PDF about this project, but yeah, I totally get this. I'm first time Amiga users. For you guys, probably it's all going to be very easy. I was at the end able to do this modest 25 MHz overclock that I'm proud of, and this card, this Amiga, works perfectly for me and I'm more than happy with this. So yeah, maybe I will try to buy another chip, maybe I will read a little bit more, maybe I will try to do a bigger overclock. More of a problem for me was kinda that this chip RAM on this Amiga 500, it's 512K, only half a megabyte of RAM, so for WHD load it's kinda suboptimal. There is a mod that you can do to have 1 megabyte of chip RAM, but as you can clearly see, I don't like to drill holes, I don't like to solder anything on the board. I really like those wires that will allow you to undo every mod, so I actually just ordered 500 plus with 1 megabyte of chip RAM board, and I think I will swap also this board in this Amiga, or will move Wicher to this Amiga 500 plus, just in order to have more of the chip RAM, just to be a little bit safer when I will be starting those WHD load games. Some of them work, some of demo works, and it's fine right now, but I would like to have probably 1 megabyte or better too. Maybe I will think about soldering, doing this mod. It was kind of like against me a little bit, but we'll see how this go. Maybe when I'll decide, I will definitely do another video if I will perform this mode. So yeah, that was with everything installed right now. I wanted just to have some fun. And please don't judge me. For me it's actually fun to copy some files, to take a look how the operating system works, to listen some mods in background and enjoy this multitasking, and actually to catch up with what I have missed as a child. And I have to tell you, compared to my 286 and 386 SX that I got, that would be amazing. That would be a blast. Best thing ever. I guess right just up to my 486 that I got a little bit later, that probably was more capable, but man, I'm really amazed with this machine, and it's a lot of fun. So at the end, it was now some time for some cosmetics. I wanted to clean this computer perfectly, so I took my old toothbrush and decided to use it a little bit longer. The new was used for cleaning up the Amiga. I'm just kidding, I took the old one. Just wanted to clean it. It actually was a pretty clean computer, and what do you say? I say she turned out quite beautiful. It's not yellowed, so I don't have to retro bright this. It looks perfectly to me. It looks both upper cover and even underneath. It looks the beige is the same, so probably the guy kept this Amiga in a box or in a basement for a very long time, and now I get to enjoy this, and what a fun it is. It's been great. I'm absolutely amazed by this computer, and yeah, I couldn't get it as a child. Now I'm more than happy to have some fun with this. Thank you very much guys for watching. If you got to the end of the video, hit that like, hit subscribe, and see you next time. Bye bye.